Thank you for your patience, everybody. We look cozy now. We're going to get the program started in just a few moments.
We be urban farmhands for rural app developers, be the best brewed bean.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 2019 State of the City Address. Make some noise, please. Thank you for joining us today, and keep your rounds of applause going for the Deputy Director of Cultural Services, our inaugural Poet Laureate, Mr. Hakeem Bellamy.
Hey, what's up? What's up, Albuquerque? How you doing? Oh, there you are. There you are. So, yeah, this is not like your normal State of the City address, eh? Thanks for coming to hang out with us on a Saturday. First, we want to thank all of our sponsors, thank everyone who helped make this happen, the partners, the center, literally everybody who was here since yesterday and earlier this week. We want to thank you very much for making this opportunity for us to get together. It's been a year. It's time to check in and see how things are going and where things are going after that. So we thank you all for making this more festive, a celebration of what we've done, and then also a roadmap for what we have yet to do. So I want to talk a little bit about One Albuquerque. You see it on the windows there. You see it on the screens behind us. Do you have it on your palm cards? Hold up your palm cards if you have a One Albuquerque palm card, please. There you are. There you are. Now keep it up if you know what that means. All right. Look at that. Well, that even though that's been emoted by Mayor Keller since before he was Mayor Keller, it really came from you. It really came from this idea that we are stronger together, that we're better together. Some of you who worked the campaign, like I did, remember #BetterTogether, and that we're always more powerful when we're working across neighborhoods, across streets, across lines, political lines, and what have you. And that's something that Albuquerque's had to do in its entire existence. We've always been scrappy, and so we decided to make that not just like a rallying cry during the campaign, but that the campaign would then extend to that philosophy would also be how we govern. And so there's lots of department directors here behind me and amongst you today. Hopefully you got to talk to them over the past hour. And one of the things that Mayor Keller is always telling us is that, we should go after the results and not seek to blame someone when those things don't happen. And so that's what One Albuquerque is. It's not saying that's not my job. It's not sending you when you call us to a different department. It's saying, you know what, I'm gonna find you an answer. We're gonna try to figure that out. And in fact, we might need your help in order to do that. So that's what One Albuquerque is about. Thank you. Thank you. And that's also why we didn't want to do like, a chicken lunch for the state of the city. We decided to have you guys come out here on a Saturday and be with us as we move forward into the second year of action. So I want to acknowledge all the advocates that are in the room today. I saw a lot of friends as you filled in today. And I know that before I was in my position at the city, I was out in the community. I know that you all do the work longer than 4, 8, 12, 20, 40 years. And so give yourselves a round of applause if you've knocked the door, if you've made a phone call, if you've donated some money or some time to help make Albuquerque what we all know that we are and what we can be. So on behalf of the mayor, I also want to thank all of our electeds who are here today, who have pounded the pavement. Some really newly minted electeds are with us today. I'll let Mayor make those personal thank yous and acknowledgement. But if you are an elected and you hold public office, I ask that you stand so you can get just a good round of applause. So if you're an elected, if you're standing behind me, if you're out there you are. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. And so without further ado, we're going to move this thing along. Thank you all for helping us under the lights, and thank you for the National Hispanic Cultural Center for turning up the air a little bit. We appreciate that too. I would like to thank the AFR Honor Guard, invite the AFR Honor Guard to the stage. What I'm going to ask you to do is when the Honor Guard comes and presents the colors, please remain standing until the colors are retired. And so we're going to have the pledge, we're going to have the New Mexico flag salute, and we're going to have our national anthem. And I just ask you to stay on your feet until AFR removes the flag. Yes, until they retire the colors. Thank you. So AFR Honor Guard, please join me and present the colors today. Please stand. I would like to invite members of the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council to recite the Pledge of Allegiance and the pledge to the New Mexico flag. And as the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council leaves the stage, I'd like to invite somebody who is no stranger to many of you if you like good music. For our national anthem today, please join me in welcoming Miss Hillary Smith to the stage.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight last gleaming broad stripe and bright stars through the perilous fight. For the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket rang away, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, AFR Honor Guard. You may be seated. I've had the pleasure of knowing the mayor and the first lady for a long time, and the honor of being asked to serve in this administration extends back to kind of our shared values. And we'd be remiss if we didn't welcome you to this place in this land without honoring the original inhabitants of this land. So to help us do that properly, we want to bring Native American Community Academy up to the stage today, or to the front of the stage today, and they're going to share a song, a prayer with us. Thank you. We call them NACA. Make some noise for Native American Community Academy. It's incredibly important to stage the stage, and we thank you for doing that with your beautiful voices. One of the more important lessons I've learned in my 14 years here, soon to be 15, in Albuquerque, from my Native brothers and sisters, is around asking permission from the ancestors to speak, especially when you're a younger person in the room. And since I talk a lot, I'm always asking for permission. But we're glad we got your permission today. I know the mayor's thrilled. And we're going to share a few videos before we bring the First Lady, first Lady, to the stage. But I think that speaks to what we're trying to do with the state of the city by making it equal parts report card, right? That's kind of that's the tradition. Year in, you talk about what things you've moved and the things that you want to move. But it is a celebration and a thank you, really, for the things that we have done. So let's start with looking at where we've been before the mayor comes and tells us where we're going. So
We be urban farmhands for rural app developers, be the best brewed beans and microbrew in a 6 Mesa radius and 100 Mariana radius. We be coffee shop crushers and conversations. We be the creme de la creatives. We powder with pollen and monsoon foundation for makeup on the rare occasion that we make up only when the winter white tablecloths the Mesa. We be of the earth and out of this world at the same time. We inherit this pride, this keep it real estate of intellectual property. We be sunsets so beautiful they paint themselves on the edge of the earth. We be where dreams come to live and retire. We be artists making careers out of thin air. We be full moon and photosynthesis, not a cloud to be found. We be radiant. We be local. We be lobos singing to the night. We be one Borque, we be one Albuquerque.
Thank you for joining us for the 2019 State of the City celebration. We are here to reflect on our city, a strong and authentic place, with a future that is promising if we can continue to work together. This is a place our families call home, some for centuries, and others just moved here. Either way, we are all welcome here in Albuquerque. We have spent the last year taking responsibility. Thank you for joining us for the 2019 State of the City celebration. We are here to reflect on our city, a strong and authentic place, with a future that is promising if we can continue to work together. This is a place our families call home, some for centuries, and others just moved here. Either way, we are all welcome here in Albuquerque. We have spent the last year taking responsibility, forging a path, and working with our city councilors to create a vision for Albuquerque that puts us all on track to become the city that we believe in. We asked each of our councilors to say a few words about something special in their district. Enjoy.
I am Albuquerque City Councilor Ken Sanchez, representing Council District 1. And I am just very pleased with the work that the council has done with Mayor Keller in bringing public safety to our community. I am very proud with the new Patrick J. Baca Library. I've always said how we empower a community is through literacy and through education.
Hi, I'm Councilor Isaac Benton from District 2. The Elvado is a historic Route 66 motel, which just opened this year with a boutique hotel, food pods, and a microbar. Has easy access to our biopark and to Old Town.
Hi, my name is Clarissa Pena. I'm the City Councilor for District 3. Our gem in District 3 is the future visitor center and open space that we have overlooking the city of Albuquerque. We also have wonderful parks in the community. The people of District 3 are just amazing, our history and our culture.
North Domingo Baca Multi-Generational Center is the City of Albuquerque's newest multi-generational center, which opened in 2011. Traditionally, the North Domingo Baca Park, adjacent to the multi-generational center, kicks off the annual Summerfest series with Heights Summerfest.
My name is Cynthia Borrego, City Councilor, District 5. We are on the far northwest corner of the city. The biggest gem that we have is the Petroglyph National Monument. For people who are hikers and people who like to look at some of our history, there's a lot to be seen.
I'm Pat Davis. I'm a city councilor for District 6. If there's one piece of our district that everybody knows, it's Nob Hill. And it's on a resurgence. The orange cones are gone, construction's done, and we've been working really hard, from merchants to residents to the city, to be sure that everybody's first trip back to the new Nob Hill is one they never want to forget.
Hi, my name's Diane Gibson, and I do have the distinct honor and pleasure of serving as the counselor for District 7 here in Albuquerque. District 7 has many wonderful things, but maybe one of the most unique is the Tom Bolak Urban Forest.
Hi, I'm Trudy Jones. I am Albuquerque City Councilor since 2007 for District 8. The gem that the city has participated in is Academy Hills Park. When I first took office, it was a sad park. We added 2 trails. One is called a prescription trail. The prescription trail serves all ages, all physical condition, and it also adds a great number of things for the younger children.
My name's Don Harris. I'm the City Councilor for District 9 in Albuquerque, which is the far southeast part of the city. As people know, in the city of Albuquerque, we have some of the best weather in the country. It's a great place for sports tourism. We actually have one of the best pickleball facilities in the entire country, right near the Manzano Mesa Community Center. And it's a sport that has really been taken up by baby boomers. We're really looking forward to the senior games, and we really are looking forward to showing off the great pickleball facility that we have here in Albuquerque.
And that's just a small glimpse of all that our city has to offer. The sum of Albuquerque's parts presents a beautiful whole. We are all here together in this moment, creating and envisioning a city that fosters creativity and growth, because that's what One Albuquerque is all about. We have work to do. It's going to take all of us, together. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for believing in and being part of Albuquerque's future.
Albuquerque, New Mexico, please join me in welcoming your First Lady, Elizabeth Kiston Keller.
Hello, Albuquerque. Thank you. Thank you. Please, please take a seat. Thank you all for being here. It is such a treat to have so many people joining us here at the National Hispanic Cultural Center, both in this room and in the Overflow Auditorium, which we just visited. And a special treat as well to have folks joining us all over the city at watch parties throughout town, and some tuning in from the comfort of their own home as well. Special thanks are also due to our families, without whom this journey would not be possible. Like many of you in this room, Tim and I are lucky to be raising our kids in the city we both grew up in, surrounded and supported by their grandparents, their aunts, their uncles, and their cousins. So thank you. We are so grateful for this opportunity to serve our hometown in a new way, and we truly couldn't do it without you. In fact, just a couple of weeks ago, when we were getting ready for New Year's Eve, my parents and I took Jack and Maya over to one of the family art workshops at the Albuquerque Museum before we went to the balloon drop at Explora. And as my mom and Maya were settling in to printmaking and calendar construction, Jack quickly painted a piece of scrap paper and delighted in putting heavy paste all over the palms of his hands before the 3-year-old wiggles set in and he took off running and walking around with my dad. And it didn't take him long to find the empty stage that's across the lobby in the Albuquerque Museum. And after a couple of moments, we heard this booming little voice that was coming from behind the podium that announced, "Everyone, welcome to Albuquerque," and blah, blah, blah. And as I laughed at Jack's hilarious 5-second summary of 2018, I was also reminded of not-so-blah remarks that I got to hear Tim give in late November, and a colleague of mine who found me afterwards and noted, "Wow, he really loves this city, doesn't he?" And indeed, he does. We do. And while this has been true for as long as I can remember, it's also been a great joy this year to see his love for this city grow and manifest in a myriad of ways. It's a love that's visible in that sheet of action items he carries with him constantly, that many of you have probably seen as he's scrolling down comments and new ideas in the margin after every conversation. And it's particularly visible in the care he now takes to remove it from his pocket before starting a load of laundry. It's also a love that's visible in the Albuquerque flair he wears around his neck and decorates his lapel. And it was visible when he suited up in full pads to take some serious snaps quarterbacking for the Gladiators, all while assuring his lovely wife that he was just there for a ceremonial first throw. And finally, it's most visible in our household in the way that he explores this city with our kids, taking them on frequent picnics to the train station where they sit and munch goldfish and Triscuits while they watch in awe as the Amtrak and the Rail Runner come and go. And in the way he seeks out simple treasures, like just this past weekend when he created for both of them these special, coveted potpourri satchels that were taking the free City of Albuquerque Christmas tree mulch and packaging it lovingly in a box and a bag that he found laying around the bar. So these are just a couple of ways that I get to see Tim's love for this city shine through. And I'm guessing that many of you in this room have caught a glimpse of one or two other ways as well. But what stands out for me most in this year is realizing that his love for this city is at its core sustained by the deep hope that comes from all of you. And this isn't some sort of passive hope that things just get better on their own. This is a hope that's deeply rooted in the belief that we can and we must do better. It's rooted in the belief that we are a resilient and a resourceful bunch, and that we have everything we need right here: the creativity, the energy, and the expertise to address our most pressing challenges. And perhaps most importantly, it's rooted in the fundamental belief that if we come together, if we work together as one Albuquerque, then we can both imagine and achieve a better future for our beloved city and a better future for all of us. So without further ado, here to talk about where we are in this journey, the important work we've already done together, the challenges we still face, and our priorities on the path ahead, is my love, the sometimes bearded, always hardworking Mayor of Albuquerque, Tim Keller, and his favorite sidekicks, Maya and Jack.
All right, welcome everybody. Good afternoon, Albuquerque. And good afternoon, Burque. Now, we know it's a little cold outside. It's a little toasty in here right now, I noticed. But listen, it is a beautiful day in the Duke City, and I'm so grateful that all of us are here at the Hispanic Cultural Center. I want to welcome everyone watching at home and on the watch parties and taking time out of a great weekend in our town to reflect a little bit on the city that we love and a little bit about the future we have ahead of us. Now, by the way, it's also a new year. Happy New Year, Albuquerque. Happy 2019. Now, speaking of a new year, there are a lot of great things that I'm looking forward to this year. And there's a few that are a lot different when it comes to partnership. And first and foremost, we have a new partner in the Roundhouse. I am so glad Michelle is with us here today. I was going to whisper to you, Michelle, and then I remembered I was mic'd. We'll talk later. Now, we also got something else different in 2019, something that's actually different for our entire country. We have one of the first Native American women ever to represent America in Congress, Deb Haaland. Thank you for making us fierce. Now, I want to share a couple of other thank yous before we get started. And of course, first and foremost, our First Lady, Elizabeth Tim Keller, my partner in everything. Thank you so much, Liz. You know, since we got this job, date night has a whole new meaning. It's neighborhood meetings and Christmas tree lightings, and it is a lot of fun. But we are truly in it together. And with us, of course, is a relatively large extended family that makes this all possible. I've got my parents here with us today, as well as my in-laws, aunts and uncles, siblings, a small village that actually makes it possible for me to serve as your mayor. Thank you so much to our family. Now, as I reflect upon this last year, it's also been a pleasure serving with our city council. And this year, we are looking forward to an all-female council leadership team. That's right. President Clarissa Pena, Vice President Cynthia Borrego, and Committee of the Whole Chairwoman Trudy Jones. We're looking forward to working together. I also want to thank our outgoing President Ken Sanchez and Councilors Ike Benton, Brad Winter, Pat Davis, and Don Harris, and Diane Gibson for all of your patience with the new administration. Thank you. Now, our city is a pretty big city, if you didn't know. We've got about $1 billion budget. We also have about 6,000 employees. And it is a whole team that it takes to actually make our city work. And at the top of that team is a special woman, our city's first ever CAO, Sarita Nair. Thank you so much, Sarita. There you guys are. We also have our executive team up here, Sanjay Bhakta, our CFO, Justine Freeman, Deputy Chief of Staff, Lawrence Rael, COO. Thank you so much. Now, I also want to speak a little bit about our department directors. Most of them, I think, are sitting behind me as well. These are like our city's cabinet secretaries. They are the ones who actually are charged with fixing our roads, taking care of our parks, taking care of our kids, running our airport, and keeping us safe. And among them, of course, are the two chiefs of our public safety departments, Chief Mike Geyer and our Fire Chief Paul Dow. Thank you to all our firefighters, police officers, and all our leadership team. Now, I also want to just extend a thank you to every city employee. You know, they work tirelessly, nights, weekends, sunshine, even lately in snow. to make sure that our city stays up and running. Thank you to everyone who works for the city of Albuquerque. So I want to welcome you to the state of the city, our city, Albuquerque, New Mexico. Now, part of being your mayor is also being a personal ambassador for all things Albuquerque. Sometimes that might mean introducing Ozzy Osbourne at Isleta Amphitheater, but most of the time it's a whole lot of other things. And one of which is even when I travel out of state. And when I talk to people and I say, hey, I'm new mayor of Albuquerque, it's funny, they always say the same two things about Albuquerque. What do you think they say? I bet you know. That's right. They always mention Breaking Bad. And then they also usually mention the balloon fiesta. And I'm like, oh, Breaking Bad, it's a good TV show. And also we have a crime problem. And then balloon fiesta, it's awesome. It's also only 2 weeks a year. So, I gotta believe there is much more to our city, right? There is much more to our identity, to who we are, to why we're in this place than a TV show and a fiesta. And I want to begin with this, because our city truly is a city at a crossroads. Fundamentally, that's always who we've been. When you think about the geography of our city, we've got the Rio Grande running down one way, and then we have this gateway to the plains through Tejeras Canyon, and then to the west up across 9 Mile Hill. This is why the original Puebloan communities settled here in the first place. This is also why when El Camino Real was coming up the Rio Grande and they stopped here and decided to found Albuquerque. This, in effect, is what we have always been. And we see this play out time and time again in our history. We see it in the Santa Fe Trail, a same story there. The Route 66, a similar story there. We even see it in the Big I-25 and I-40 intersecting right here. All of this has done a few things for our city. One, of course, and I think most importantly, it has left us with an incredible community. One where each chapter of our history has not faded into the past. Everyone who's gone through that crossroads, a lot of us actually stayed here because we like it here and because we love it here. And now we live with our cultures side by side, intact with respect each and every day. And we see this even in modern times, whether it's the story of our refugee community, our African American community, or even our Asian community. We know that Albuquerque is a diverse, multicultural capital for the rest of the country. That is who we are. That is who I want other people to believe that we are and know that we are when I run into them. But to do this, of course, in the last few years, we've faced a lot of challenges. And we've been at our own crossroads. In effect, for us, our crossroads has been about not only rediscovering our own identity, but making sure that we can be the best city that we really can be. And so for the last decade, we found ourselves in a situation with crime rising steadily, with economic stagnation, with a lack of opportunity for our kids. We saw ourselves rise to all of the bad lists and fall in all of the good lists. And I believe we actually found ourselves quietly afraid, not feeling safe anymore in our own homes and in our own streets. We saw our children, unfortunately, move away and express little interest in coming back. And our community, in many ways, also lost trust in our own government and sometimes even our law enforcement. I believe that some of us, unfortunately, felt at times that our city's best days may have been behind us. But I will tell you, in December of 2017, we decided to make some choices at that crossroads. We decided to pick a purpose-driven path, a path that is our path, a path that is of our own choosing, a path that does not include any excuses for the challenges that I just mentioned, a path that is not about blaming the state or the courts or anyone else for our challenges. It's a path about personal responsibility, a path that says we are going to do this our own way. We're going to do this together. It's a path that also means we're not going to try and be some other city. Now, we're going to steal their good ideas and their good people. But we're going to be the best Albuquerque we can be. That's right. Now, we've got some challenges ahead. We know that. But we're going to face them head on. And we're going to take responsibility for finding our own solutions. And we are going to take back control of our future. And that is what today is all about. Our crossroads, a journey that began a year ago, and the choices that we have ahead. Now, when I became mayor, there was no doubt that the biggest challenge we had in front of us was dealing with public safety. And we tried a lot of things in the past. We tried a lot of ideas. But I think the first thing we have to do is acknowledge We have to address crime from all sides. There is no one issue that is going to fix what we need to do in our community. In fact, there are dozens. And honoring that commitment is where we decided to start. And so we began with ourselves. We began with restructuring our police department. We brought in 20 new people in leadership positions at APD. And these folks are committed to culture change from top to bottom. We know it's going to take a while, but we created a compliance bureau and a reform division and a community outreach division to make sure that we are honoring, in spirit and in reality, the DOJ reform process. And we know that culture change is going to take a long time. We know that. But there is no doubt that last year there has been a sea change in our city's approach towards reform. And I want to thank everyone in law enforcement for that. Thank you so much. We are also focusing on rebuilding community policing. And community policing means a couple of things. One, it means getting the community back into the police department. It also means getting the police department back into the community. And that's why we're reinvigorating all of our relationships with churches, schools, and neighborhoods, and our children, youth, and families department to make sure that we can try and address crime from every side together. Now, I have to tell you, there's something else that we've got to do for our police department. We have to step up and give our officers the resources they need, and most importantly, the help that they need. When you actually get a chance, perhaps, to do a ride-along or think or learn about what's actually happening in our police department, you will realize that we are fundamentally understaffed at almost every level. In fact, a little maybe 20 years ago when I was in high school, might be 25 by now, we had 1,130 cops, roughly. That was like 20 years ago. When I came into office, we had roughly 840. I will tell you, the best technology and the best data and the best police officers are not enough to police a town of our size right now. That's why we are committed to bringing in 400 more officers in the next 4 years, and we are actually on target to have our first 100 at the end of this fiscal year. And I want to especially thank City Council for helping me make that possible. And I got to tell you what this means. When we say officers, it doesn't just mean that officers sort of on your corner. It means officers at every level of our police department. It means being able to open the Nob Hill substation, the downtown public safety district, and the Old Town substation. It means being able to deal with specialist needs like mental health and behavioral health situations. It means paralegals to help prosecute criminals. And it also means folks in our Crime Against Children's unit to help protect our children. Now, we have a long, long way to go, but I do want to note that for the first time in a decade, we are seeing crime stats finally turn the other direction. That's right. Albuquerque used to be a meme, essentially, for high rates in auto theft, and we still have a long way to go. But I will tell you, there is nothing but positive news when we know that auto theft is down by 30% in our city. That is awesome. So down this road, there is truly a long way to go, especially when it comes to violent crime. And like a lot of other cities, one thing that is in common with violent crime in our city is gun violence. At the end of the day, guns are the weapon that are being used for almost all of our violent crimes. And in one way or another, guns are part of the fact that parents are now sometimes scared to drive their children to school. It's the fact that workers at Ben E. Keith are sometimes afraid to go to work the next day. We have to do much more when it comes to gun violence. And we've got to be proactive. We can't wait for another gun violence episode to occur to actually step up and do something. And that's where our department is going to start. We're going to keep guns out of the hands of convicted felons and minors as best as we can. We're going to go after stolen guns by arresting individuals who sell them. And we're going to educate the public about how to keep their guns in safe storage. And we're going to build on the success of our Gun Technology Center, which tracks tracking of and detection of guns that are used in multiple crimes across the country. Now, we're going to need some help with this, and I'm going to get to that in a little bit later. But I want you to know that we are not going to let up our efforts until the people of Albuquerque also feel safer, in their home and shopping and at school and in everything we do in our city. And that experience also occurs with folks differently. We know that safety is different for women. We know it's different for LGBTQ folks and people of color. And we want to make sure that in the coming year, Albuquerque is a safer city for each and every one of you. Now, public safety isn't just about crime. And I think anyone, whether you're driving around our city or you're walking around our city, one thing jumps right out at you. And it's our addiction challenges and it's our homeless challenges. And I will tell you, this is another area where we have a choice to continue doing everything we can to try and work on this in the same way, or we got to step up our game. We have got to do things differently when it comes to dealing with the gaps in our behavioral health services and our homeless services. And I want to share with you a little bit about what I learned in my first year as mayor. I came in and I said, all right, let's get together. Everyone is working on homelessness. And so we got all these folks together, and there are lots and lots of nonprofits and faith-based organizations doing everything they can, thanklessly, for our homeless folks out there. But I will tell you what we also all agreed and understood is that if you have a family member or you have a friend who needs help, maybe they're addicted to a drug, maybe they're down on their luck for whatever reason, they've had different issues, I will tell you right now, there is actually nowhere for them to go with no questions asked. Right now, it depends on your gender, it depends on if you're sober or not, it depends on if you have identification, it depends on all sorts of issues. Most importantly, it depends on the time of day. A lot of these wonderful nonprofits, unfortunately, can't stay open 24/7. It also depends on the weekends where there's less services than during the week. And what do we do in Albuquerque to solve this? We have a shelter that is open only in the winter so that you don't freeze. That is how we've been dealing with our homelessness problem. That is going to end with our administration. So we're doing a couple of things. We are in the process of working with the county and UNMH and CNM, and we're going to find a way to close these gaps. We're going to find a way to actually have one place where you can go with no questions asked and then connect to all of those great services that are already out there. And in the meantime, we're going to keep that shelter open year-round. That's right. We have to. We have to. And we also are going to double down on housing vouchers. We believe that we could take 1,000 people off our streets with a housing voucher. This is the most cost-effective way to deal with homelessness. And this is actually one way where we're going to be asking our entire community to help. We're going to ask you to actually donate to housing vouchers. And all of those little blue signs that you see all over that say call 311 when you see a homeless person, don't anymore. It's not really helping. We're going to have some new signs up that are going to point you to a place where you can donate for housing vouchers on your cell phone app. And then we're going to show you all of the people that we've taken off the streets and given the help they need through your help. Now, a huge part of doing what we have to do in our city is also making sure that there's access to opportunity to good paying jobs right here. And I believe this is another example of a crossroads that our city was at. Often we would try and find that silver bullet, that one idea, often from Portland or Austin or Denver, that one thing that would transform our economy. It would make all our kids want to move back here and keep our kids here. And I will tell you, we can have another choice. And that's the path of building our economy from within. It's the path about supporting our local businesses and growing our own, essentially, to actually provide those opportunities for our kids. Now, sometimes you can actually do both, which I didn't see coming when I ran for this office. And what I'm talking about is Netflix. That's right. Netflix is bringing, if you haven't heard, $1 billion to our economy over the next 10 years and 1,000 good-paying jobs. Now, we're not just interested in those big fish. We're interested in our local businesses. These are the ones owned by women, people of color, and veterans all across our city. And to support them, we have to buy local. And to do that, I believe the city has to lead the way. And it turns out our city spends almost $200 million of your tax dollars out of state with out-of-state companies. This is where we can make the most short-term difference for all of our small businesses. And I will tell you, even the coffee that we drink in the mayor's office, even this business card was printed out of state. This is how bad it has gotten in our city. So we are systematically going through literally thousands of city contracts and one by one trying to swap them out locally. I saw someone in the audience who caught my eye when I said that. It's because she's the one doing this. So, Haley, you've got a lot of work cut out for you. She's gone through 400 contracts so far and swapped them out locally. That is awesome. Now, we've also got to step up for our working families. And I'm proud to say that we gave all our city workers raises this year. Long overdue. And we are the leading city in the state of New Mexico to provide parental leave. Thank you for that also, City Council. Thank you, Albuquerque. So we also have to rebuild our public places. And we've got to start working on our core, in core Albuquerque in our downtown. This is why we took back control of the most iconic piece of blight in the city of Albuquerque. We tore up that contract for that out-of-state developer, and we took back the rail yards. And if you didn't see the president of C&M on the paper today, we also are moving the film school of C&M to the rail yards, the first tenant in 40 years downtown rail yards. Now, a couple of other things I do want to quickly share with you. We're bringing 1,000 jobs to downtown and filling up those vacant office buildings. That's right. We've got a professional soccer team starting in March at Isotopes Park, New Mexico United. There they are right there. We made the Sunport International again. You can fly directly to Mexico. It's a good reminder in Albuquerque, we build bridges, we don't build walls. Thank you for that. And we're going to get back to that in just a little bit. But I do want to share one more thing. We finally got out of the decade-old recession, so that's good too. So we do have a long road ahead of us. But when I mentioned that we want a city that our kids can find opportunities for, that we can find opportunities in, we also have to step up for our kids. And here again, I believe, another crossroads for our city where we're trying to take a different path. Historically, it was typically a path about, look, we've got a lot of challenges in our school system. We know that. But instead of actually saying, well, someone else has to do something, or APS has to do this, or the state has to do that, we know we got a lot of work to do. The question for us, for me as mayor, is how can I help? Not how can I blame, how can I point the finger? And that's why we believe in stepping up for our kids. That's our agenda. We're going to step up where we can. That means after-school programs and summer programs. That keeps our kids engaged. It keeps them out of trouble. And ask anyone who's had children in these, it is something people remember. Almost all of our staff, everyone who's grown up in Albuquerque, remembers all of the summer programs they participated in. And so we're going to get back to that in Albuquerque. And I'm proud to say that City Council stepped up by providing some funding for us to test this out. And we did some small things that made a difference in kids' lives. We expanded our swimming lesson hours. We expanded our pool hours. We took the teen nights back on Friday nights and Saturday nights to make sure our teens are active and out of trouble. We basically expanded everything we could on our own. And we got 30% more participants in our summer programs. Thank you for giving us that chance. Now, we also know that we've got to keep the places, in effect, where we play and where we have these programs also clean and safe. And we know we have some serious challenges in our community that often play out in our parks. And that's why we developed the SHARPS program, so that we can try and have a rapid response needle program to get those needles out of our parks and to help communities do that on their own. So we're going to do that as best as we can. But in the meantime, I also want to say, of course, we've got to work on all of the issues that drive those problems to our parks. But we've got to do both. And to coordinate all that, we're getting everyone together. For the first time in our city's history, we are creating a children's cabinet. It's going to involve APS, all the nonprofits who do work with children, all our city departments, and we, I believe, over a couple of years, will be able to provide at least one, if not many, opportunity for every child who wants it in Albuquerque after school and over the summer. That's the goal of our children's cabinet. Now, when we think about our kids and our future in our community, we also have to think about the natural beauty around us and about how to protect that, how to be sustainable, how to respect and protect our environment. And I want to share with you some of our initiatives on sustainability, but before I do that, we should probably talk about the art project. Now, I got to tell you, my favorite part of the art project was by far that the buses were electric. Unfortunately, that's not going to work out right now. So I got to tell you, we had to send those back. The technology just is not ready. But here's what we are going to do. One, we're going to do this project in our own way, in our administration's own way, and that means getting it up and running safely and effectively and doing it right in 2019. And that, I think, is going to be a good thing for our whole city. It also means eventually we're going to phase back in those electric buses. So when the technology is ready, we're going to get back to that. And while we're working on that project, we're going to do something a little different too. We're going to look at our transportation system. That's what this was supposed to be about all along. And we're going to find out how we can make it easier for Albuquerqueños to get to things like the Balloon Fiesta and Isotopes games and Lobo games, and how we can have better transportation all across our city. That's what we're going to work on while we're waiting for those new buses. Now, on broader sustainability issues, we've actually done a whole lot more. First, we signed the Paris Climate Accords. Second, we set a goal of getting Albuquerque to a net zero energy bill when it comes to our electricity cost. That means cutting out $1 million a month on what we pay for electricity in the city of Albuquerque. Now, the good news on this is we actually got together with I had on one side of me on the same stage the Sierra Club, Environment New Mexico. On the other side, I had a giant solar panel, and then P&M and all of their team. And we actually got together, and we figured out a way to do this. We are going to do a public-private partnership with P&M to take 60% of our electricity load and make it renewable. Right now, it's at 4%. This is a huge victory for our city. And then we figured out that if we can put a solar panel on every city building we can, and also work on energy efficiency, we actually can be 100% renewable energy by 2022 in just 5 years. Now, we need a little staff help to get that done. And luckily, we just got a $2 million award from the Bloomberg Foundation for being a champion for climate change cities. We just won this yesterday. This is awesome. Now, many of you have heard me talk that our city should be a city that is about safety, innovation, and inclusion. And I want to talk about that last word, inclusion. This word enables the other two words, in case you haven't figured that out. So we also set to work addressing that head on. Last year, we chose to pursue a path towards real, meaningful equity in our city. That means listening, it means learning, it also means acting. And the first thing that we did was create the Office of Equity and Inclusion, the first ever of its kind in our city. And we empowered an incredible team of professionals to examine and address inclusiveness and representation in who we hire, in who we train, and how we do business, and how we serve and protect our community. We started by updating our sexual harassment policy. Then we made it mandatory for everyone at the city. That's right. Then we established our city's first dedicated civil rights office designed to work with residents to prevent and resolve discrimination in housing and social services. And next up, we are even going to take consideration into our city's contracting process and weave in equity, an equity lens in everything that we do at City Hall. So this year we have stepped up in some big ways, but I think our community has stepped up in many ways much, much bigger. Part of inclusion also means making all of our residents, and I want to emphasize all of our residents, feel respected and feel protected and able to thrive. That's why, together with Council, we affirmed, in the face of great opposition nationally, we affirmed our status as an immigrant-friendly city. And then when it was our turn, we stepped up personally. When we saw those kids coming through who had been torn apart from their parents, when they literally were coming through Albuquerque, we stepped up and we provided them with all the help that they needed, whether it was from a public safety standpoint or an extra truckload of donated supplies and clothes that our city provided. Thank you, Albuquerque. And I think this is a bright reminder for all of us that in this city, when we see injustice, whether it's in our own town or whether it's on our border, we have a moral obligation to stand up and to speak out. That's right. And Liz and I went down to the border to do just that, and we joined mayors from all across our country. I might note mayors, Republican and Democrat, who were there to speak out against the hatred and the cruelty and stand up for immigrant communities. That moment is when I was one of the most proud to be from Albuquerque because I knew our city was behind us every step of the way. Thank you, Albuquerque. Now, we still have a long way to go in many ways. And unfortunately, this year, on too many occasions, Liz and I have also joined individuals and communities who've been feeling increasingly threatened for how they worship, who they look like, where they come from, or who they love. This is still a challenge right here in our city. But I do know that in some of these heartbreaking moments, we demonstrate what it means as a community to actually do that, to stand up and to be there and to take care of one another. And I have to think of after the Tree of Life shootings, when we gathered at Temple Albert, and when I say we, it was pretty much every faith you could think of. It was Muslim, it was Jew, it was every Christian faith. All of us invited to pray together. And the amazing thing about that is actually everyone who was there wasn't surprised that we were all in the same room together, because this is how we do it in Albuquerque. We are there for each other. We step for each other. We take care of each other. Now, I want to share with you a story about what happens when you pick a path and you start to approach the destination. Some of you might remember, as state auditor, my old job, we looked at the rape kit backlog. And what did we find? We found one of the biggest tragedies that I think our government has ever let happen in recent times, at least in New Mexico. We found 5,500 untested rape kits from all over the state. We found them, some of them 30, 40 years old. A huge chunk of them, unfortunately, children. This was an issue that was fundamental to why I decided to run for this office in the first place, because I was tired of writing reports. I actually wanted to get that done. And I am proud to say that we have made tremendous progress on the rape kit backlog. When we came into office, there was about 200 kits tested. 200 after that report was released a year before. 200 out of almost 4,000. Now, today, I am proud to say we stood up against that injustice, and half that backlog is now tested. And we have the resources and the leadership in place and a partner at the state level to make sure we finish the job by 2020. And I want to remind folks, this backlog is not just about testing kits. These are people's stories, unfortunately, some of the worst stories in their own lives. This is also about getting the worst perpetrators off our streets. And it's also about honoring a commitment to our criminal justice system. This is an example, I believe, of how choices have impact and how the choices that we make in Albuquerque are paths that matter for a whole lot of people. So I want to thank the advocates who helped with that along the way and everyone who's been a part of that. And I also want to use this as an opportunity to speak a little bit to the rest of the state of New Mexico. Now, I think folks know, in fact, many in this room, whether you just moved here, whether you've lived here since time immemorial or for centuries, New Mexico and Albuquerque have a unique relationship. In rural New Mexico, you know, the reality is you come here to fly out of the Sunport. You come here to get a lot of your health care. You come here to send your kids off to UNM and CNM. Sometimes you come here for Coronado and Cottonwood Mall and ABQ Uptown. Look, we are in so many ways tied together. We rise and fall, Albuquerque and New Mexico together. And I will tell you that the Duke City is taking responsibility for its challenges, but we also need help. We need help from everyone around New Mexico. I mean, I know half the West Side, by the way, is just the kids of everyone else in rural New Mexico. So we got a family reason to do this too. But I will tell you, we do need your help. And Governor, we're going to come asking. Legislators who are here, we're going to come asking. Because together we have to step up and deal with issues around addiction, around rebuilding our behavioral health system, around keeping guns out of the wrong hands, and around protecting our children from abuse and sometimes death. So know now that Albuquerque is stepping up. We're doing everything we can. But I also know that we're in this together. And when we say one Albuquerque, it's pretty much the same thing as one New Mexico. Which does bring me back here to Albuquerque and to everyone who's here with me today, who's here watching, or who's here participating in any way in all the things that our city does. One Albuquerque is actually a little bit more than a name or a slogan. It's about championing two things. It's a subtle nod to our identity. That's why you see Burque in front of you. For those of you who don't know, our old name had an extra R in it. And at statehood, they just pulled it out. So when we hear Burque, of course, it's a little bit of slang, it's a little bit of fun, but it's also our history. That was just shorthand for our old name. And so that's why we believe that together, whether it's Burque or Albuquerque, we're all one. And we're in this together, whether you just moved here or whether you've been here since time immemorial. But one Albuquerque is about something more. It is about stepping up together to deal with our challenges. And that's why over the upcoming next several years, we're going to be rolling out 1,000 ways in which individuals can actually help make our city a better place. This is the One Albuquerque Challenge for the next 3 years. This is about literally personally saying, I'm ready to go process fingerprints at APD, or I'm ready to go walk dogs at our animal welfare shelters, or I'm ready to do a number of 1,000 other things that will make a difference in our city, including donating to those housing vouchers I mentioned before. And so Albuquerque, we're going to ask a lot of you, and I know you should ask a lot of us. But I believe if we do this together, we are going to be one Albuquerque. And right now, we've got a new saying that I think you're going to hear a little bit. We want you to put your ones up. You ever put your ones up for me right here? That's right, because we believe that in Albuquerque, we are one Albuquerque, and I want to hear it if you're in this with me. Are we in this together, Albuquerque? That's right. Let me hear it again. Are we one Albuquerque? Thank you so much, Albuquerque. Thank you for all you do, and Viva Burque! Thank you so much, Albuquerque. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. So good. Thank you. Great job.
I'm glad you're going next. Good luck. I'll be there. Hey, guys, come on out. You get to an Albuquerque battle? All right. Come here, Jackie Bear. You get to an Albuquerque battle? Are you fanning me? All right, let's go to the rope line. All right, guys. Thank you, guys. Good job. Thank you. All right. Hello, Mom and Dad. How are you guys? Next year we'll do a former mayor's deal. Have a nice one, solo. Hey, Fred, good to see you. How are you? Good to see you. Thank you for being here. Nice job. Thank you.